How's it going? Welcome to Vikings Report Rewind. I'm your humble host, Ted Glover. With me, as usual, my partners in crime, the founder, lead blogger, and grand poobah of the SB Nation Minnesota Vikings website, the Daily Norseman, Christopher Gates, and my partner and co-host on Vikings Report with Drew and Ted, Drew Bunting, and of course, in the background, making all of this happen, without which this show wouldn't even be taking place right now, is Ruby Toonces, the talking cat. Lady and gentlemen, how are we all doing this evening? Chris?
We're doing all right, folks. Drew, Ted, Toonces, wonderful members of the audience. It is great to be here once again with you guys, navigating through the month of August and the preseason, as we are now 19 days away from opening day, something like that.
18. Yeah.
18. I'm bad at math, so yeah, we'll go with 18. 18 works. Yeah.
Drewster, how you doing, buddy?
What up, you lunatics? Thank you so much for joining us in the chat tonight. Hopefully we can get to your questions and your comments. Thank you for being here. Like and subscribe to our show. We need the subscriptions. We use that to eat. You don't want to see us go without food now, do you? Doing great. I'm really glad to be here tonight with you and Chris. Thanks for having me back on, Ted. How you doing?
Doing good. Folks, we got a jam-packed show tonight. We got the second preseason game to talk about. We have roster cuts to talk about. We got the final preseason game to talk about, but I got to do a couple house cleaning things before we get going. As usual with these live shows, we've got a prize giveaway tonight. All you got to do is enter a comment in the live chat. Ruby's monitoring that, and at the end of the show, she's entering names in this program. She's going to spin what we're starting to call the Wheel of Destiny. Winner gets a prize. We've got a prize vault with a whole bunch of stuff. They've worked really hard to repopulate the prize vault after last year. So just enter a comment, say hi, whatever, and you're in tonight's prize giveaway contest.
Excellent.
Our other contest we've got going on closes in a couple weeks. It'll won't end until the regular season. It's our Rook Dog Challenge. For those of you that want to participate, all you need to do, and either in the live chat tonight or the comments below after the show, if you missed the live show, type in who you think your NFL offensive rookie of the year and NFL defensive rookie of the year are going to be. We've got some entries. Most people are waiting, but time's running out. You got this show. We've got a live watch show for the Broncos game on Saturday. We'll start about 7:45, and then we have one more live show a week from tonight, and those are the only times left you have to enter this contest. Once you've made your entries, though, that's it. You can't change them. So if you enter now and one of the rookies that you enter gets hurt in this last preseason game, is out for the year, you're kind of out of luck. So offensive
$100, Ted.
Yeah, and the winner gets $100. Offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year for the NFL. If you think a Vikings player is going to do it, knock yourself out. We've got some fantasy football contests coming up. We'll talk about next week, but we've got season-long prizes we're going to be giving away. Just stay tuned. Like Drew said, like and subscribe. Follow us on social media too. The show is at Report Ted, 2 T's, REPORTTED. Chris, you can follow him on at Daily Norseman on Twitter. And you can follow the show, or you can follow me at Purple Buckeye. But we've got one more big announcement. I'm really fired up about this. We have become the official podcast of a website, gentlemen.
Yeah?
An official podcast. Wow. That's right. I kid you not.
What is that, Ted? Tell me about that, Ted.
Purple Pain Forums. You can find them on social media at _Purple Pain _ Purple Pain Forums. That's on Twitter. They are an old school message board with kind of all the bells and whistles of the modern day. For those of us that have been following the Vikings, guys like me that have lived away from Minnesota forever, message boards used to be the only way you could connect with other Vikings fans. They still have that message board feel, but you can embed tweets, YouTube links, all that kind of stuff. It's a very vibrant community. Melanie, the moderator over at Purple Pain Forums, does a great job of keeping out the riffraff, if you will. And like us, they've got some great contests going on as well. They've got the Pick Six contest. They've got they got one more contest, and I'm missing it here. Anyways, they got
contests.
They got all kinds of contests. Go to Purple Pain Forums, sign up. They also got a couple of great topics going on right now about how the Vikings can win the Super Bowl. It's a great website. You'll be able to find our show on there, and every week we're going to talk about a couple popular threads on Purple Pain Forums. So Purple Pain Forums, the official message board for Vikings Report, Drew and Ted, and we are the official podcast for Purple Pain. So happy to be on board, happy to be working. Yes, sir.
Have you told Melanie what she's getting into? Partnering up with this show. I mean,
no. This look, when she figures it out, this will be over probably in like 3 weeks. I mean, I get it, but we're gonna ride this wave all the way to the beach, brothers. That's what we're doing.
Oh my God, what have I done? It'll be about 3 weeks.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, they got the Pick Six game. They got Purple Pain accountability. Season-long contest you can enter, and they got cool prizes as well.
Yes.
If you win the Pick Six.
Yeah,
you're going to be a guest on this show. So I don't know if that helps you out or not. I don't know.
That helps most people out. Most people want to be a guest on this show. All 11 that watch.
All right. Enough announcements. Let's talk football.
That's a big announcement, though, Ted. That's huge.
That's huge.
I went over there.
That's pretty impressive.
I looked at Purple Paints, man. They got it going on. There is a ton of stuff over there.
And I'll tell you what. If nothing else, it's an appropriately named website because we deal a lot of pain as Vikings fans.
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes, we do. Yes, we do. I'm very excited about that. I'll be over there, and we'll see what shakes down from here. But I'm really fired up to be involved in that too, Ted. Good job by you and Toots is getting that lined up.
All right. So welcome aboard, Purple Pain. So here's the deal. Speaking of Purple Pain, the Vikings played a preseason game last weekend against the San Francisco 49ers, and they came into U.S. Bank Stadium and fully avenged the 1987 divisional playoff loss and the ghosts of Anthony Carter and Wade Wilson and Reggie Rutland to the tune of 17-7.
A great day that was, wasn't it?
If you watched us last week, we said, look, we all wanted to see certain players or position groups progress. Christopher, did you see any progression at all by anybody in that 17-7 loss?
There wasn't a heck of a lot. No, I mean, there was the T.Y. McGill show during most of the time the Vikings were on defense because that dude was everywhere. But yeah, there really weren't a heck of a lot of guys wearing purple jerseys on Saturday that really covered themselves in a whole lot of glory. To be honest with you,
Drewster, was there any positives you saw in that game?
I think with everything in the preseason, all you're trying to do is check out your depth. Who's going to play behind who? I mean, they know who the starters are. O'Connell knows already who the starters are, but there is a lot of really good players fighting for that top dog position to be the first guy to come in. And I think the Vikings are playing it really well in terms of looking at the depth they have at certain positions. And I think they did that in the first game against the Raiders. I think they did it in this game, and I think they're going to do it Saturday against the Broncos to be able to break this thing down. But in terms of the game, that took a diehard football fan to sit through that. I mean,
we
had like 5 plays. O'Connell said, here you go. My quarterbacks are weak. Here's your 6 plays you get to use. Up the middle, run right, run left, square out pattern, dig route by the wide receiver, slant. That's all. That's what you get. Work with it. He's not showing anything.
No, he sure isn't. And, you talk about diehard football fan. We joked, or we were kind of bummed that we did not do a live watch party for last week's game. Well, and I couldn't get it. It wasn't nationally televised. And about halfway through, I think either you texted me or I texted you and said, boy, I'm sure glad we didn't do a live watch party for this game. So, but we are doing one this Saturday. About 7:45, we'll be on the air for the Vikings Broncos game. Hope you join us.
Yeah, we do have a live show coming up Saturday, 4 hours of Chris Gates.
We do.
Who's going to miss that?
One of the big things that came out of this, and I didn't really see a whole lot either in terms of progression. And one thing we all wanted to see was Kellen Mond take another step forward like he did in week 1. And that didn't happen. None of us are happy with Sean Mannion. And they were both just flat out bad. I mean, for as bad as that game was, if the quarterback play for the Vikings is better, I think it's a better game. That play, the play of Mannion and Mond, ended up resulting in the Vikings trading for quarterback Nick Mullins a couple days ago, Drew. A, what happens to Mannion and Mond now? And B, do you like the trade?
I love the trade.
Okay.
I live here in the Bay Area, and Mullins kind of got his start here with the 49ers.
Okay.
He was the talk of the town here in the Bay Area where I'm at. I mean, the Niners loved him. The Niners loved him. He was a future guy here. I don't know what happened. You know, I don't follow him that closely. I do as much as you can for a local team, but I'm a Vikings fan. But Mullins I think he started a few games. San Francisco loved him. They loved him over there. So I don't know. I'm happy that I feel like the Vikings, if something happened to Cousins, can now actually have a chance to win a game. Where I thought with Mond and Mannion, they have nothing. With Mullins, they got a shot. If he gets enough practice time and enough reps with the starters, he is a capable quarterback. He's not a seasoned vet, but he's got a great outlook. He's a real one of those guys you knock down and he gets up and wants to go in the film room and realize why he got knocked down. He's a real student of the game. I want to ask you guys about Mannion. How is Sean Mannion? You know what he is? You know what? I thought about this today. You know what Sean Mannion is? You know when you have that drink and something falls in it like a piece of coffee, a coffee ground or something, you're trying to get it out?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've all done it. There's something in your drink and you're dipping your finger in there and you think you got it because you can't see it. I got it. And then, bloop, it pops up. Then you're trying to get it, bloop, it pops up. And then you're trying to pin it against the side of the cup. You know that pinning?
Yeah.
That never works. It slips out. And bloop, it pops up. That's Mannion. Why does he always show up? Mannion is that little piece of bloop in your cup. He is.
But he's still on the team. He's still on the team.
You know, you're trying to get it out of there and you can't see it. That's what he is, dude.
So then with Mullins on board now, what happens, Drew, to Mannion and or Mond? Do you keep one, both, none? Get rid of Mannion. Should have got rid of him a long time ago. Mond, you can put him on the practice squad. If he gets poached off the practice squad, it doesn't really affect me all that much because I don't think he's ever going to be a starter in this league. And you can send me all your hate mail or whatever, but the guy hasn't changed from 3 years ago. The flaws I saw in his tape at Texas A&M, he's not getting much better. I say you put one in the practice squad and get rid of Mannion. Go with two quarterbacks, and we'll see what happens. Chris, what are your thoughts on Mannion, Mond, and the Mullins trade? I assume you're on board with the trade.
You're doing the whole Benefer thing with the Vikings quarterback situation. We've got Mannion now.
Mannion.
But I kind of agree with Drew. I think Mannion's out. I mean, if you want Sean Mannion on the sidelines that badly, politely ask him to retire and hire him as a coach. I mean, there's no reason for him to be on the roster at this point. Now, Mond, if you want to keep him, you have to ask yourself if it's worth losing a potentially rosterable player that could contribute to the team in some way at the risk of keeping Kellen Mond on the roster. Because with this trade, you've made it clear that you don't expect Kellen Mond to contribute this season. He's going to be the third guy if he's on the team at all. So like Drew said, if you can get him to the practice squad, great. If someone else steals him off the practice squad, who cares? It's not that big a deal, but you didn't bring Nick Mullins in here to be the number 3 quarterback. He's the number 2 guy, and Mannion and Mond, neither of them are that impressive. So, yeah, that's pretty much how that shakes out, I think.
Yeah. The one other thing, and I like the trade. I thought it was a good move. I mean, the backup quarterback position isn't important until it's important. I mean, Kirk Cousins has been healthy his whole career. I get it, but the one time you just assume he's going to be healthy is the one time he'll get hurt. So I think the Vikings needed to make a move because. Look, if either Mond or Mannion had to play, the Vikings would have no chance, really, realistically, of winning a game. Mullins gives you that chance, I think. Like Drew said, he put up some good numbers in San Francisco. I think his very first career start, he had over 300 yards passing on a Monday night game. So, I mean, he's the guy that can keep you in a game and win you a couple games if your guy goes out for 2-3 games. If Cousins gets hurt for the whole season, the season's done. It doesn't matter. But if he's only hurt for 3 or 4 weeks, you've got a chance to stay competitive and stay in and stay in first place or stay in the playoff hunt or whatever. The one thing I love is the compensation. It was Nick Mullins for a 7th round conditional pick. That's the word I'm looking for. And the condition is if he's active for one game, the Vikings give up the pick. This is so far away removed from what Rick Spielman had done the last 2 years. Spielman would have given up half the draft class for Nick Mullins or somebody even worse.
Then traded him in a month.
And then traded him for a 6th round pick in 2 months. So done. God, I'm so done with that clown.
You know, we talk about what happens if Cousins. We talked about this a lot on Vikings Report. What happens if Cousins gets hurt during the season? He has to miss like a month, not just a week, like 6 weeks or something. They'll probably go outside and look for a free agent. I think what they're doing now is they're taking care of that now in case that happens, because when you bring a guy in on the fly like that, he's way behind on learning everything. So they're kind of looking at it now going, get Mullins in here now so you can learn the system. And then in case Kirk goes down, we have it taken care of. I think it's good. Yeah. It's smart in that sense, rather than scrambling and trying to get Ryan Fitzmagic in here or something.
To me, Chris, there is absolutely zero downside to this move. Zero.
No, absolutely. This is a good deal. Like you said, Mullins actually gives the Vikings a chance to win if Cousins gets hurt, where Mannion, you saw what happened with Mannion last year when he got an opportunity, and Mon's not going to do anything either. So, and like you said, it's a pick at the very bottom of the draft. So, it's not like flipping a 4th for Chris Herndon or something crazy like that. It's a 7th round pick for a guy that's a competent quarterback that could potentially help you win or at least stay competitive. So no, there's no downside to this.
So let's go back to Chris Herndon. Traded for Vikings gave up a 4th for him last year. That dude just got cut today or yesterday, whatever.
Yeah.
My God.
4th rounder we spent on that guy.
Dumb.
What a paranoid move by Spielman. Come on, Dick Sock.
We're dumb. I mean, look, we're dumb.
We are dumb.
But that's just dumb. That's just stupid.
None of us are trading a 4th rounder for Chris Herndon. That's for sure.
Hell no.
We aren't.
All right. You know what with Mannion, real quick? Doesn't Mannion, we talk about the gloom, the removal of gloom with Zimmer, Spielman, the culture, the gloom, get rid of it. Doesn't Mannion, Ted, still feel like he's the last speck of coffee in the cup of the gloom? He's part of the gloom. Get him out.
Not anymore. I mean, I don't think he's going to stay on the roster. I don't.
But it feels like part of the old regime. Get him out of here.
Well, Harrison Smith is part of the old regime.
But he can play. He's a good player. Why Mannion is part of the shit gloom? Get him out.
We'll see. I'm with you. I mean, he's got no business being on an NFL roster. I would keep Kellen Mond though, like Chris was saying. I have made the determination. I think the guy can be a rosterable, serviceable backup. Maybe not this year, but give him another year and give him more coaching. I think he's gotten more coaching in the last 2 or 3 months than he got all last year, but that's just me.
I would like to see him.
That's the question that you have to ask yourself. Do you want to, keep him on the 53 at the expense of possibly, having to ditch another offensive lineman or another cornerback or a guy that's going to contribute this year? And I don't think you do.
You can't. You got to put him on the practice squad or nothing.
Well, that's my question. So do you think if the Vikings cut Kellen Mond, they could get him back onto the practice squad if he clears waivers, or would somebody claim him, do you think?
I would like to have Mond on the team, Ted, for the reasons you just said. He needs another offseason to develop, to finally see if he has what it takes to get there, but you can't spend a roster spot on that guy. Come on.
But you also said you would like to see him on the practice squad. So for that to happen, the Vikings would have to cut him. He would have to clear waivers, and then they could put him on the practice squad. So would you risk that?
Yes.
Okay. Would you, Chris? Or do you think he gets snatched up by somebody?
I think you have to try it. Like you said, if he gets grabbed by somebody, then don't worry about it too much. But I don't think you can keep him on the 53-man roster at the risk of, losing a guy that can potentially contribute.
Okay.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see what the Vikings do then. One last real quick look back on the 49ers game. Gentlemen, T.Y. McGill, is he playing himself onto the 53-man roster, Chris, do you think?
Yeah. He's already played himself out of the roster, as far as I can tell. He's leading the NFL in sacks after 2 preseason games. I know he's going against backups too, but I mean, the guy's been around the league for a while, and he's showing something. And I think he definitely needs to stay on this team somehow. I don't see anybody that's going to displace him at this point.
Drew?
He will make the team.
Okay.
And I tell you something, this is an interesting storyline to follow. It is beyond rare that you find a guy that's been in the league 8 years and flopped around with a few teams that finally gets it and emerges as a star now. It's very rare, especially for interior defensive linemen.
Yeah.
Very, very rare. So this is going to be interesting to follow. He has to have made a roster spot. He earned it. If the Vikings cut him, then they're dumber than we thought. So
I do like the comparison that Kevin McMahon just made in the chat here. He's T.Y. McGill kind of has a little bit of Tom Johnson to him. I mean, nobody really knew who Tom Johnson was before he got to Minnesota. He bounced around the league a little bit, and he wound up coming to the Vikings, and he was a pretty darn solid rotational defensive tackle there for a few years. So I mean, maybe T.Y. McGill can kind of follow the same track.
Okay.
Maybe turn into little John Randall. Who knows?
Oh, let's not get carried away there.
No, I know.
So that's pretty much it on the preseason game, 2 against San Francisco. The other big news this week in camp, other than the Nick Mullins trade, is the Vikings had to get down to 80 players by 3 p.m. yesterday. So they had to end up getting rid of, I think with the Mullins trade, they had to end up getting rid of, I think, 6 guys total. They waived wide receiver Albert Wilson, which was kind of a surprise. I didn't think he was going to make the team, but I thought he'd stick around to the final cut. Tight end Sean Byer and cornerback Harrison. If it's no longer your time or my time, I think you're out of time, Mr. Hond. So Harrison Hand is done. Defensive lineman Julian Taylor was waived with an injury settlement.
Yep.
Did he get re-signed and put on IR, or did he just settled and done?
Yeah, he cleared waivers. He's on IR now.
Okay, he's back on IR.
So what does that mean when you're on IR at this point? What does that mean?
You're done for the season now at this point.
Your season's done.
Yeah.
The only time you can't come back off of injured reserve unless you're placed on injured reserve after they set the 53-man roster. That keeps teams from stashing guys on injured reserve and bringing them back later on. So if you're on IR at this point, your season's done for.
And then finally, linebacker Ryan Connolly and wide receiver Blake Prohl were placed on the reserve, physically unable to perform list, and that means they are out until week 5. So with all those moves, the Vikings got down to 80 players. Out of those moves, Wilson, Hand, Byer, Taylor. Any surprises by you, Chris?
I think Harrison Hand was a little bit of a surprise just because he's seen so much action for the Vikings in his first 2 seasons. He's played 23 out of a possible 30. Do some public math here. 33 games, and he just had a little bit of experience, and I guess the younger guys have just kind of pushed him off the roster because he's no longer here.
Drew? Any surprises for you at all?
Sorry. I just thought of Chris Gates doing that Dusty Rhodes thing. Sorry. I am sorry. Right. That was one of the greatest moments of my life. Okay, back on track, Drew. Okay.
Any surprises for the cuts?
Harrison Hand. Now, they cut Ty Smith last week, Ted.
Yes.
I was kind of surprised. Harrison Hand's already been picked up by the Giants.
Yes.
One day. If you look at the roster with the corners now, they have 8 corners left on the roster after the Harrison Hand cutting. There's 8 guys there, and I only see one that's going to get cut. That's Perry Nickerson. I look at all the rest of 7 of those guys, they're making the team.
I think so, yeah.
So I think I'm kind of surprised because I thought Hand put in a little bit of time, and I thought he was a decent player, but they must think the other 7 in that group are better than he is. So I was a little surprised that he got cut.
Well, here's the deal. You've got Dantzler, you got Patrick Peterson, you got Shannon Sullivan, you got Andrew Booth Jr., you got a Caleb Evans, and I'm missing Chris Boyd. Do you think Harrison Hand was better than any of those dudes? Maybe Boyd? Maybe? I don't think so.
No. I think Boyd does enough on special teams.
Yeah.
He was never going to go ahead of he was never going to get cut ahead of Hand, I don't think.
that just goes to show you the cornerback group has gotten a lot better since last year and the year previous, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And nothing against Hand, but like if you're not even the 6th best cornerback on the league on the team, then bye, Felicia.
Well, Giants didn't wait very long to go get him, so maybe they see something a little.
No, that's true. Yeah, I mean, and look,
the Giants
they gave Hand a job. Sorry, Hand. Never mind. Saw that on Twitter earlier.
Chris, did he just go there?
I'm sorry.
I believe he did.
Dude, he would Hand a job. Oh my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. We got 10 draft picks and 10 free agents on my wall right here, and only one has been cut, which is Julian Taylor. So we got 19 guys who we'll see if they make the cut next week. Next week's a big day.
Next Tuesday by 3 p.m. Central, the Vikings have to get down to 53 players. We will be live next Wednesday to talk about it. Before we go, I'm kind of putting both of you on the spot. Is there a surprise? And I don't want to pick the whole 53-man roster, but give me like one guy who kind of isn't expected to get cut right now that you think might get cut. Chris, you got any ideas?
I don't. I'm kind of looking at the offensive linemen. I mean, Wyatt Davis isn't a surprise anymore. We know that's happening.
No,
I know. Chris Reed is a guy that was brought in to compete at one of the guard spots, but I don't think he's done anything all preseason. He hasn't played in either of the first 2 games, and with Ed Ingram emerging at the right guard spot and Ezra Cleveland kind of cemented in at left guard, and I don't know if that guy makes it. I would say Chris Reed would probably be my potential surprise.
That's a sneaky good pick right there.
That is sneaky good. It's hard to disagree with that pick.
Drew, do you got anybody, or are you gonna stick with you're gonna ride the coattails of Christopher, the American Dream Gates?
When is it ever a problem to ride the coattails of Mr. Christopher Gates? I mean, what hasn't Christopher Gates done? So I'm going to ride the coattails and go there. I will give an outside shot. Maybe that James Lynch, he's kind of struggled a little bit. I don't know.
Okay.
And I think the D-line's really – Phillips is my player of the year. By the end of the year, he's the MVP.
Okay.
We'll get into that in future shows. But, Reed is probably the guy I would think.
We've talked about roster depth, and do you keep 3 quarterbacks or 2, and then do you want to sacrifice that 3rd quarterback for a player that you think you could use this year? I look, I hate to say this, but if there's going to be a surprise cut, I think it might be CJ Ham. I mean, Vikings.
I was thinking that too, but
the Vikings really haven't used the fullback much in their 2 preseason games. Kevin O'Connell coming for the Rams, they didn't really use the fullback, although O'Connell said, hey, that's because we never had a good fullback before. So we'll see. I don't know. But I think maybe if there's like a whoa cut, that would be whoa. That would be whoa for me, because Ham's a popular guy. He does his job well, but, we'll see.
Agreed.
No, that's interesting. I didn't think about that, but.
So now we are moving on to the Denver Broncos game, Saturday, 8:00 Central Time. It'll be in the Mile High City. I think that's what they call it. That used to be because it was actually 1 mile above sea level. Now, because the devil's lettuce is legal in Colorado, everybody in Denver is high all the time. That's why it's the Mile High City now.
It's not called Mile High Stadium anymore? What the hell's wrong with the NFL? What are we doing?
No,
why are we getting rid of the old vintage names, man? You can't get rid of Mile High Stadium.
Money.
It's like Los Pollos Hermanos Stadium or something now, or I don't know what they even call it anymore, to be honest.
What is it?
Gus Fring, Broncos owner.
Oh, jeez. Come on.
So the Vikings play 8, and again, for those of you that are interested, we are going to be doing a live watch party. The game starts at 8, or the broadcast starts at 8. We'll be on the air about 7:45. We'll take you all the way through the game. We'll do a quick post-game recap. Saturday night, 7:45. Join us and watch along as the Vikings flail in Denver.
I want to go ahead. I want to go ahead and start this off with the most important thing about this game for the Vikings.
What is it, Chris?
That's the fact that we have punter drama.
Do
We
we?
have punter
Yes, we
drama
do.
because Kevin O'Connell or Matt Daniels has said that this game is going to be a quote unquote punt off between Jordan Berry and Ryan Wright to see who is going to emerge as the punter for this team this year. So there's basically no competition anywhere else. But yes, we have punter drama going into the final preseason game.
Is that like that punt, pass, and kick back in the 70s? Andy Reid with three times
But he
bigger
was like
than all the
twice
rest.
the size. Yeah, twice everyone else's size. That video will never get old.
He was a high school senior playing against sixth graders in that. My
I see
God.
that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny. It's funny.
So, and I would think Jordan Berry would have an advantage here. He's the incumbent dude. And whenever the punter for the Vikings special teams is also the holder. And whenever Jordan Berry's held the kicks, Greg Joseph hasn't missed. But the other dude, every miss Joseph has had in camp so far has been when the other dude's holding. So
that's the difference, then, Ted. That's the difference. The kicker has say. The kicker has say.
I would be pulling for Ryan Wright to win this punting competition on the condition that the NFL lets him continue to wear number 66 if he makes the team. But I'm guessing the league is totally not going to let him do that. So at this point, I don't really have a horse in this race, right?
Yeah, do you think the punters mess with each other? Like,
I think they do.
I'm going to kick your ass this week, or you're going to suck. You think they kind of rib each other, or they?
I bet they say stuff like, "Hold the ball this way and kick it. It'll work."
The watermelon kick.
Yeah, it'll work.
You know what? They're gonna divert it all to Greg Joseph. He's going to be the decision maker, so they don't have to make the decision. Who do you want? Who do you want holding the football for you?
I think you're right. I think that's going to play a lot into it because I mean, statistically, I think they punted for the exact same number of yards in preseason so far this year. So,
yep.
The one kind of big theme over the first two preseason games is that the Minnesota Vikings, the bulk of their starters on both offense and defense, have not played. Drew, has that bothered you?
No.
And do you think the starters, especially maybe, and our buddy Rhino from Vikings Uncensored, how about a center off? Do you think maybe Garrett Bradbury or somebody, or the first team offense and first team defense should play a series or two?
I'm not worried about the starters. The starters are figured out at practice. They're running rep after rep after rep. And if they're going through it with Cousins and Jefferson and they're doing it blindfolded with competence, that's all you need to see. You don't need to trot them out there. I mean, we all want to see it for a couple series or whatever. I think it's a guessing game either way. I don't think it matters either way. I mean, you run them out there for a series, that's fine. If you don't, the offense and defense, well, defense is a different story. The offense is ready to click. They're ready to go. They know what they want to do. It's just a matter of learning what O'Connell wants them to do per drive. What do you want to do from 30-yard in, from the midfield? What do you want us to do? How are we going to attack this? How are we going to work the run, cook, all that? It's all figured out at practice. You don't need to run them out there during a game right now. The defense, I think because you're switching to a 3-4, new coordinator, bunch of new players, a bunch of those players are rookies. The defense is completely on a different learning curve than the offense, if you ask me.
Okay.
I think defensively, you got to get those guys out there. You got to name your starters this week, get them out there for a few series, 2 or 3, maybe the first quarter, and then start subbing in who you think is going to be the number one backups. The defense, to me, is all about this last game, not so much the offense. I don't think you need to run any of them out there, but the defense is still a work in progress. And it will be. It will be even after this game. Donatel hasn't had it all figured out. This is a tough job for Donatel. It is.
Chris, what do you think?
No, I kind of agree with Drew. I mean, the offensive personnel that we're going to be sending out there every week is largely the same. I think the only change is going to be Ed Ingram at right guard, but everyone else is pretty much the same. They know each other. They've worked with each other. They have timing down and stuff like that. But yeah, the defense. I mean, I don't want Zadarius Smith or Daniil Hunter out there on the field because you run the risk of running into a situation like we saw last year where you run the starters out there for a few series and then the next thing you know, Irv Smith Jr. is done for the year because he hurt his knee. Guys like Smith and Hunter on the defensive side are important enough where I don't want to put them in any sort of risk in a game that doesn't mean anything. But a lot of the other guys, I mean, your Harrison Phillips and Eric Kendricks, Jordan Hicks, those guys have played during the preseason, and like Drew said, the learning curve for the defense is going to be significantly different from the offense just because they have all those different people. So yeah, I'd like to see the defense, the first unit, play just a little bit, maybe a series or two, but the offense doesn't worry me all that much, I don't think.
I'm not concerned if they play or not, either side of the ball. It doesn't bother me. I'm more concerned about, key guys getting hurt. I mean, you saw, or maybe you didn't, I know, rookie, the first round pick for the Giants, Kayvon Thibodeau, almost had his season ended. He ended up, it looked like he might have really messed his knee up against the Bengals, I think it was. Ended up, fortunately, only with a sprained MCL. But that could have been pretty serious, but he still might miss a couple games.
Randy Moss's kid with that block.
Yeah, it was. When it wasn't, I don't think it was a dirty block. It was a cut block. I mean, that's how they're taught to block. Anyways, so I if they don't play, that's fine. The one question I have about who should play and who shouldn't play, Nick Mullins, Chris, do you think Nick Mullins should play? And B, do you think he will play, being as how he has such a short time that he's been on the team learning the offense?
I don't think he's been here long enough where you can trot him out there behind an unfamiliar offensive line with unfamiliar receivers and whatnot. Particularly because, like we said, you didn't bring him in here to be the number 3 guy. He's your unquestioned backup behind Kirk Cousins. And if you lose him for whatever freak injury fluke might happen in a game that doesn't matter, then you're back to where you were with Mond and Mannion, and you're digging through the free agent wire to see if you can find somebody. So I don't think Mullins should play. I don't think there's any reason for him to be out there. He can work on timing and chemistry, because the guys he'd be out there with are not the guys he'd be throwing to if Cousins winds up getting hurt anyway. He's not going to be out there with Jefferson and Thielen and Osborne and those guys. So he can work with those guys in practice, and I don't think we have to worry about seeing him out there. Let Mannion and Mond, see if one of them deserves to be on the practice squad or the number 3 guy, but I wouldn't run Mullins out there, I don't think.
Drew, what would you do with Mullins?
Mullins' job as second stringer is going to be to learn the Vikings offense, of course, and that's going to be done at practice. It's going to have to be really vanilla to run him out there Saturday after getting him 2 days ago. It's going to have to be like just a handoff here or whatever, and all his learning is going to come at practice. I don't really see what you're going to accomplish by running him out there. If Cousins gets hurt at this point, even with Mullins having a couple weeks of a learning process, it's going to be a tough haul for him. He's not on page with Thielen or Jefferson or anybody. So he's kind of got a tough task ahead of him. You may want to run him out there for a quarter and third quarter or something and see what you can do, but it's going to be real vanilla stuff. It's not going to be anything too drawn out.
Yeah.
Most of his learning is going to come at practice, Ted.
I think so too. And I with the short amount of time he's been on the team, and Chris, you brought up a great point about him being the guy in case Kirk gets hurt. And if he gets hurt, they're kind of back to square one. I wouldn't play him either. So now that goes back to assuming Kirk does not play. Do the Vikings, will any playing time between Mond and Mannion kind of signal what the Vikings are going to do with third quarterback? Do you even think they're going to keep 3 quarterbacks? And if Mond gets more time than Mannion or vice versa, that will tell us which one of those guys they're leaning towards keeping, Chris?
No, I don't think it's really going to make any difference. Like I said, I think they're both going to be gone. I think they're going to try to get Mond back on the practice squad. But, once you get to that point, everybody has to clear waivers. And, even if he does clear waivers, he doesn't necessarily have to sign with the Vikings practice squad. I mean, someone else can grab him and put him on their practice squad. So, I don't think it's going to make any difference how they perform as to whether or not they wind up making the final roster at this point. I don't think either of them get there. But, Mond, I think, has an opportunity to show a little bit of whether or not he actually is a guy that the Vikings want to use a practice squad spot on at this point. So, yeah, that's the only real quarterback drama I see for Saturday.
Drew, I know you're a big Sean Mannion fan, and you probably want him to play the whole game.
Here it is. Oh. Damn it. Oh, damn it. I can't get it.
So
Wait, I got it. Wait. Oh, I didn't get it.
What do you think about the whole quarterback deal then?
The quarterback.
Does it matter to you?
Ted Glover, have I ever lied to you?
Yes.
Okay. Let me tell you something. The quarterback thing has already been figured out. They know what they're going to do.
Okay.
Mannion's gone. I'd give Mond this whole game. Let him play his ass off and see what he's got before you send him to the practice squad. Mullins, they know he's going to be the number 2 guy. But it's all figured out with Mond and Mannion. I mean, this whole thing is – don't you feel like they've already got it figured out? Kevin O'Connell, let me tell you about this game. And I feel like I'm killing our telecast for Saturday because I want to say, hey, folks, all the starters are going to play the whole game. So people will tune in. But I have to be honest, Kevin O'Connell he just wants to get through this game. That's all he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think so too.
He's going to have all right, here's your 5 plays on offense. Kobeck, get in there. He wants to get through it with no injuries and not showing anything. I think defensively, he wants to give a little more.
Drew, hang on. I just got a text from Kevin O'Connell. They want to sign me to a 2-day contract. They're going to fly me out. I am going to be long snapper. Okay. All right. They're not even going to play their long snapper.
You're going to be what? Ted Glover, long snapper?
Long snapper. Yeah. So
I heard you played some long snapper in high school.
No.
Wow.
Well, maybe. With your mom.
I knew we couldn't get through it without your mom. Without your mom. Ooh, yeah.
So anyways, then, yeah, I'm kind of with you guys. The less the starters I see, the better off. Actually, I get through this game. And Drew, I 100% agree with you that I think Kevin O'Connell already has a really good idea of what he wants his quarterback room to look like, or he wouldn't have made the trade with Mullins. If he was still deciding between Mond or Mannion as the backup quarterback, A, they wouldn't have made the trade, and B, I think it would have been fascinating to watch to see who plays how much on Saturday. Now, these guys, I think, are going to play the whole game like they have the first 2 preseason games, and whatever. I think it's just kind of like a whatever. I don't even know they're going to watch film at the end of this game on quarterback.
I think the Broncos just want to get through it too.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to kill our telecast because we are going to have a killer telecast. We're going to give away prizes. It's going to be a party Saturday night. Yeah. And if Chris Gates is here for 3 hours, oh my God, you don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it. But in terms of the game, you got to, these guys don't want to get anybody hurt.
Well, real quick then, before we spin the wheel of destiny and sign off, what do you guys want to see Saturday night? It's the last preseason game. It's going to be mostly guys that will not be on NFL rosters come Tuesday night, which is sad. I just think it sucks. That's a brutal day. Next Tuesday is just an absolutely brutal day in the NFL.
Yeah.
But Drew, what do you want to what would you like to see? Are there any players you're particularly looking at, or what? Besides no injuries, we all want no injuries. What are you looking to see?
That will be an interesting day. It is 864 guys are going to get cut.
Sucks, man.
864 players in the NFL will be cut next. That's terrible. For the Vikings, I'm looking at just the defense. The defense, figuring out the depth, figuring out who's going to shine, who's going to get Asamoah some more work. What about Miguel with Phillips? Our guys learning the position of what they're supposed to be doing in the role of the 3-4, the outside linebackers falling back into coverage, all that stuff. Have they learned what they're supposed to do, and not just going to the point? I mean, going to the point and figuring out what they're supposed to do and knowing why they're supposed to be there. Just learning the system. I want guys to learn the system on defense, offense. Mond, I guess I'm going to watch Mond and see if they get through it, but don't expect a lot of the points, folks. I mean,
yeah, it's gonna. We're gonna have to be on our A game because we ain't gonna be watching an A game, boys.
Like I said, I don't want to downplay the telecast because we're gonna have a lot of fun Saturday night.
Yeah,
we're gonna have a shitload of fun. But I don't know, the Vikings, no injuries, like you said, but it's all in the defense. To me, this team is all about the defense, and they still got another week of learning. They got another 3 weeks of learning. They're gonna be learning.
And I thought the defense played pretty well last week. All things
they did. They did.
Asamoah looked good again. But it was just the offense really couldn't get anything going. It was a whole lot of stuff. Chris, what are you looking for this last preseason game?
I mean, I'm still watching Jalen Twyman in the hopes that he's going to wind up cracking the 53-man roster somehow, because that guy is, Drew's been fired up about Jalen Twyman for 2 years. And, he's one of the guys that you want to see make it after what happened to him last year. I'm still interested to see what happens at the backup tight end position behind Irv Smith and presumably Johnny Munt, who hasn't played at all. Last week, Nick Muse had a couple of nice catches and looked good, and Zach Davidson looked pretty awful with a couple of really terrible looking drops. And they have to figure that position out. But like Drew said, it's all about seeing if the guys are learning and things are going the way that Kevin O'Connell wants them to, and things like that. So that's going to be the big one. Maybe a couple of the backup offensive line spots are still up for grabs, but other than that, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of drama for this one.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think it's just going to be. Is there a guy? I think it's just going to be your typical third or last preseason game of the year. Is there a guy that you think, if he plays a really good game, is going to play himself onto the roster that you think currently isn't on the 53-man roster? Either of you? I
mean, I mentioned Nick Muse a little bit ago. I mean, it's kind of down to him and Zach Davidson for that third tight end spot. I know they've used draft capital on both guys, so one of those two guys is going to make it. I don't think the other one's going to wind up making the team. They're not going to carry 4 tight ends, I don't think so. It's going to be Irv Smith and Johnny Munt, and one of those two guys. So that's a bit of intrigue, I suppose. But maybe some of the stuff at the bottom of the wide receiver depth chart has yet to shake itself out a little bit. Like we've said in previous weeks, the top 4 are basically set. But we have to see, assuming they keep 6 receivers, we have to see who kind of falls into that 5 and 6 spot. But we'll have to see how that goes as well.
Drew, anything for you on a guy that might sneak onto the 53-man roster?
I'm with Christopher Gates on this. Nick Muse. We had Nick Muse. Didn't all of us have Nick Muse pegged a month ago for a practice squad guy? That's what we all.
Yeah. It's all had released. Yep.
I think that guy can. What he did against the Niners that Chris mentioned, what he will possibly do against the Broncos might get him a roster spot. So the guy I'll be watching is probably Nick Muse. Let's see if he can do it.
I think Jalen Naylor right now is on the outside looking in. I think if he has a really good game, he might steal one of those last wide receiver slots.
Naylor?
I don't even know her.
We're so dumb.
You're so dumb.
Is there anybody dumber than us on podcasts?
Rick Spielman, when he makes grades during training camp. I'm just saying.
What about that Vedvik trade? Chris, what happened with that guy?
Stop it.
That was terrible.
I don't even know if he's even in organized football anymore. CFL, XFL.
Why did he go get that guy?
Oh, God.
California Penal League. I don't know. Wow, that's terrible. That might have been that's one of the worst trades ever, I think.
And
be on the short list.
I was still writing for you on Daily Norseman, and I carried water for Spielman, that son of a bitch, on that trade. I did. I said, hey, it's only a 5th-round pick, and if it solves our kicking problems, that's great. That was stupid. You'll find that story and delete it.
Did he kick for a game? Did he kick for?
No. The Ravens are out there trading 5th-round picks for like Calais Campbell and stuff like that.
Right.
We're trading 5th-round picks for a kicker that doesn't even make the team. Yeah, wolf.
Somebody mentioned it would.
What's going on?
That here, he said it would definitely help somebody if they emerged as the obvious choice for punt returner. I don't think that's settled by any stretch of the imagination. That's a very good point.
I wanted to talk punt returner tonight. I guess we'll talk Saturday about it. But that punt returner, we need to get to that because that's interesting at this point. What's going on at the punt? If you listen to, Daniels talking about the special teams as the punt returner, he doesn't really even know.
Yeah, punt returner's still a big question mark, and I think that's something we're gonna hit pretty heavy on on Saturday on our live watch show.
We're going to hit it long and hard, Ted.
That's what she said. All right. Toonses, are you with us? We're getting ready. We're getting ready to, I think, getting ready to wrap up the show. I think she's got a whole bunch of names on the Wheel of Destiny.
Yeah.
And if she's up and ready, I think we can spin that wheel and we can figure out who tonight's prize winner is. Ruby, are you with us?
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I got disconnected for a second.
I like the Wheel of Destiny, Ted. It's kind of cool.
All right, here we go.
All right, here we go.
It says Wheel Decide, though. I want Destiny written on there next week.
At least we have better colors. We have Ohio State red.
Ah, Jesus.
Scarlet.
Who got it this week? Who is that?
Ear. All right.
Fat Ear.
Or the deer. I don't know. I know that. I know I'm mispronouncing your name. I'm not doing it on purpose. Look, congratulations! You are tonight's prize winner. Get a hold of Ruby in the live chat. The email is Vikings Report with Drew and Ted at gmail.com, all one word. Congratulations. She'll give you a link to our prize vault, and from there you can pick out one of the prizes that we now have available. And we've got more stuff. We got some really cool stuff coming for our contest, for our fantasy football contest. And we'll announce that in our next studio show. So again, real quick. So that pretty much does it for tonight. We'll be back next Wednesday at 7. We'll be back this Saturday we'll be on the air about 7:45, and those will be it for our live shows.
Yeah.
We will return in studio for our week 1 preview against the Green Bay Packers. That will be Friday, September 9th. It should be hitting our YouTube channel about 10 a.m. Central Time. Be full week 1 preview and everything else. Chris, any last words?
No, I think we pretty well touched on everything tonight. Saturday's last preseason game, and then we get to sit and wait for week 1. Yeah, plenty of there's a little bit of drama to be had on Saturday night, but not a whole lot, and it's going to be pretty interesting.
Drew.
Yeah.
Any last words? Yeah, come on. You've been down this road before. You've had a death row execution stay more than once.
I am. Last meal. You guys realize I'm going to be electrocuted tomorrow? Why do I have an appetite for a last? I'm looking forward to Saturday night. We can go. There's going to be a big window, 3-hour window for us to share some stories and some Viking news. And when the punters are out there having competition, it'll give us more time for Viking news. We'll have some prizes to give away, but I'm looking forward to hanging out with you guys for 3 straight hours. That's going to be crazy. Get your picks in for the Rook Dog Challenge, because that is evaporating.
Yeah.
That contest is going away. Pick the offensive and defensive rookies of the year. Get your picks in the comments below or in the chat. Time is running out on that. Otherwise, I think we pretty much touched on everything that's going on with the Vikings at this stage, didn't we?
And we did. And one more thing, if you weren't with us at the beginning of the show, we are now partnered up with Purple Pain Forums, purplepainforums.com. We're their official podcast. They are our official message board. Go check them out. It's an old school message board. Kind of fits right in with our old school style. They've got some great games over there you can enter. You'll be able to see our show linked over from their page every week as well. Really looking forward to that. Thanks for reaching out and getting all that set up, Ruby, with Melanie over at Purple Pain Forums. Again, purplepainforums.com @_purplepain_ on Twitter. I don't know what their Instagram is because I'm not on Instagram. I don't know if they're on TikTok because I'm not on TikTok. So if they are, I'm sure they got all that listed over there. So go to purplepainforums.com.
Instagram, what is that?
It's stupid.
You guys seen Dante Culpepper lately?
It looks like he ate Dante Culpepper.
Dante Culpepper, get your roll on? What?
Yeah, get your jelly roll on.
That cinnamon roll? All right. Hey, real quick, shout out to Lenny Dawson, passed away today.
Yeah.
Lenny's a good guy. Football mind.
Yeah, loved him on the old Inside the NFL show back on HBO back in the day. Him and Nick Buoniconti. Two guys that were on teams that beat the Vikings in the Super Bowl. But no, I'm still not bitter. All right.
Yeah, you are.
I am very bitter. All right. For Chris, for Drew, for Ruby, everybody, thanks so much for joining us. We had a ton of people in the chat room tonight. Hope to keep that energy up. We'll see you Saturday. And we will also see you next Wednesday.